And on today's show, we're highlighting the practices of Bob Hartman and John Schwan. Part 2 of this week's series featuring retirement income masters with top of the table and MDRT platform speaker, Tom Hagner. Hi everyone, I'm Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and contributing author to Backroom Technician and Innsmark. Let's get down to business. Well, welcome to the show, Tom.
Thank you, Steve.
I love your book, and we've been talking about it, and you'll hear about it all this week. Retirement Income Masters, Secrets of the Pros. I dropped this. It just probably took me, I'm going to say, about a little over an hour to read. I went through the whole book. There were things in here, and I've been in this business 30 years. There are things in here I'm like, I never thought about that. It was basic, it was easy, and it was really great. And I noticed that you have another package here. Is this all DVD?
It's audio.
Or audio.
So, you know, you can listen to it when you're driving or load it into your mobile devices.
You can either go to Tommy's website, which is
TomHagner.com,
or go out to Amazon.com and pick them up. I really recommend this. This will be, actually, sometimes this is more inspirational than it is about the math and all the cool ideas. But these are masters who have given us ideas on retirement income, and they're really fantastic. Let's talk about your first one, though. Bob Hartman, hey, a local guy for you and
Bob
right?
Hartman's a local guy. He lives in the town I live in, but I tell you, he's been a top annuity. He understands annuities, and he understands how to solve clients' problems with annuities, and he's been a top producer.
And he's a top producer with a big blue chip company.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, talk about it. This is a guy who is MDRT. This is a big player. He's into this phrase, you know, I've heard this before, but you said he delivers it world-class service.
Right.
But you say he really delivers
Well,
it.
and he asks a lot of questions, and that's another thing you'll find in this book, a pattern, that the top producers are great question askers. Some of the questions he asks: how much retirement income will you need? Should you refinance your mortgage? How much life insurance is enough? What type of IRA is right for you? Now, we think these are simple questions, but they lead into all kinds of conversations where you can then solve problems.
When you think about producers that are very good about questions, they have honed these questions down. They're using the same questions predominantly in their first contact interviews.
Right.
So you've seen in these patterns of producers who are highly successful, there's a pattern here. There's a predictability.
They are great fact finders and great question askers. Now, there is one case in here that's really neat. He had a client who was a very wealthy businessman who had a $100,000 CD, wasn't earning much. He went in and said, what can I do with this? And Bob gave him some options. And the guy said, yeah, but I don't like annuities. You know, I heard annuities are bad. I don't want annuities. And he said, but he explained what it did for them and how it could give them guaranteed lifetime income. And he was concerned because he had all these beneficiaries. He had 16 beneficiaries, that he was afraid that if he left them a bunch of money, they were just going to blow it. And Bob said, no. You know, people who are not good with money, you don't want to leave them money. You want to leave them guaranteed paychecks for life. So anyway, he got a lifetime income annuity for himself. He kind of drove around the block, saw how he liked it. Well, then when these deferred income annuities came out, where a DIA, where you can buy a lifetime income annuity, but it doesn't start for years down the road, that was perfect for his 16 beneficiaries. So he went out and he wrote 16 deferred income annuities, one for each of the beneficiaries, and now every year that guy adds money to their deferred income annuity. So they're not going to get a big lump sum when he dies. They're going to get guaranteed paychecks for the rest of their life.
And this was a client who was adverse to buying annuities.
Very skeptical of annuities, did not want an annuity. When he saw what it did, he bought some for himself, and he bought 16 for his children and grandchildren.
You remarked, and I read this, I have to tell you, I read it twice just because it was kind of interesting, this thing you call the Holocaust survivor case study. Talk about that, because that was kind of a heart jerker.
Well, it was. I mean, and this happened a couple years ago. An 80-year-old Holocaust survivor came into his office, and he was very concerned about that when he died, his wife would not get some of his money that was due to him, or pension. And so he wanted income for his wife for the rest of her life. And Bob said, well, here's what we'll do. A lifetime income annuity would do that perfectly for you. It's the most efficient way. He gets paid the mortality credits. And he showed him, and the guy said, well, you know, again, he was a little skeptical, but he did it. Well, not only did he do that one, then he came back in like a year later and said, I want some more for the both of us. So then he wrote a joint life on the both of them. But these are people, again, who just wanted income. They're afraid of running out of money. And too often, we don't take the solution that's perfect for that, which is guaranteed lifetime income.
It's such a huge issue now that's emerged. I think everybody's talking about it. We're still waiting for the registered rep community kind of pick up on this. But really, the insurance companies are the only ones that can deliver guaranteed lifetime income.
And it's so simple. See, sometimes people say, you know, well, Tom, it's so complicated. It's not complicated. Your retirement is all about how much guaranteed income do you have, and have you taken the key risks off the table? And Bob has really figured that out.
We come back, we're going to highlight another high top of the table producer, John Schwan. You're going to be very interested in how he actually does his practice and pick up a few points right after the break. Back in the day, life insurance professionals were called field underwriters. Then, carriers trained their field force in the basics of life insurance underwriting. Today, the insurance industry doesn't educate the agent population as they once did. But now you can have the Informed Risk Guide at your fingertips so you can illustrate a reasonable rate class for your life insurance prospects. Just request your copy of the Informed Risk Guide at downtobusiness.ashbrokerage.com. It's free from Ash Brokerage, the practice enhancement company. Well, welcome back to our second segment. Of course, I'm with Top of the Table and MDRT platform speaker, Tom Hagen, and we're talking about another story. John Schwan, right out of his Retirement Income Masters, The Secrets of the Pros. And there's some secrets in here, a lot of stealth marketing going on. I think you're going to really enjoy this. Again, you can go out to Tommy's site, which is on the lower third of our film here, or you can go out to Amazon.com. Tom, talk to me a little about John Schwan. Wow, this guy is huge.
Look, John is a personal friend of mine. He's a top producer, and I say, you know, it is very possible he's the #1 producer of lifetime income annuities in the history of America. He's certainly in the top 5 or 10 if he's not #1, because he's written a lot of it consistently, okay? And he works with pretty high-end clientele, although he works with a lot of farmers as well, and just middle-income folks too.
How do you get to, I mean, I'm just thinking about the number you said. Let's just say the guy's, don't say #1, let's just say he's a top 5 player.
Right.
I'm just trying to imagine what numbers this guy's putting on the table, and it's all based on the theory of guaranteed income. See,
well, he does a lot of life insurance too. John is not a product person. John solves for the client's needs. He's probably one of the best question askers I know. Listen to what the comment right on the beginning he says. He says, "No one's ever come to me in the last 30 years and said, John, please make sure I'm destitute and broke for my last 15 years, or please make sure that I pay as much income, gift, and estate taxes as humanly possible. So we focus on creating certainty of income, as well as an overall approach that can help in minimizing taxes and enhancing wealth. In many cases, net worth has very little to do with the strategy. It's primarily about creating a steady and guaranteed cash flow."
That's what people want.
And he's also a great student of the business. And John is one of the, like I said, one of the best question askers. He says the #1 thing you should do is start by giving the clients a good listening to. See, too many advisors go in, they tell and they tell and they tell and they tell, oh, we got this product and it slices and it dices and does all this. He gives them a good listening to. He asks questions and listens. And that's what he does probably better than any of the, you know, as well as any of the advisors.
Don't you think our disease as advisors sometimes is that we're trying to pontificate to let the client know that we're so knowledgeable? I think it's a disease we have. We think we need to prove ourselves.
And John's very humble. He doesn't try to do that. What he tries to do is, in very simple terms, solve the client's problems. He asks them, you know, how much income are you going to need, and where's it going to come from, and how long will it last? Those are simple questions we can all ask.
Well, I noticed that you highlighted one discussion in this chapter in relation to John in regards to the discussion on 72T. Now, how did that get in there?
Okay, well, John does a lot of RMD maximization. So he finds, you know, clients, they have IRAs and 401ks, and we've done this in previous sessions where you see what the RMD looks like. In the best 10 years of your life, you take out the least, and then it goes up into your 90s, and then it goes down precipitously after that. It's a suboptimal way of taking your retirement income out is an RMD. RMDs were never created to give seniors income. RMDs were created as a tax recapture plan for the federal government. So when you figure that out, you can run a lifetime income annuity or even a joint lifetime income annuity on qualified money. Now people say, wait a minute, you can't do joint life on an individual retirement account. Yes, you can. And even if you're under 59 and a half, there's no 10% federal penalty.
So is that why you're bringing up the 72T?
Yes.
Issue? Okay, got it.
Because let's say you got somebody who retires and they're 53 years of age, and they say, Steve, I want to retire. I got this money in an IRA or 401k. A lot of advisors think they can't touch that till they're 59 and a half. That is not true. You could put that into a SPIA, start getting a check the next month, no 10% federal penalty. A 30-year-old could do it. Anybody of any age can buy a SPIA, qualified or non-qualified, no 10% federal penalty. And that's what he talks about.
Now, this is interesting because a lot of times what you just said is that little part in that book, in that chapter about the 72T and things of that nature, We all kind of advisors, we know that, right? But we don't really play to it as much. And I am shocked, by the way, that is your statement, that there's people out there that are advisors that know that we don't have the flexibility to be able to do prior 59.5 modeling.
Right.
And you bring this up all the time in a lot of your speaking. I think we really don't know what we don't know, and we're not applying what I think is pretty basic retirement modeling here.
And I don't advise that people take their IRA and 401k prior to 59.5, but you have some very wealthy people out there who could certainly do it. And they could retire when they're 50. If they do some internet thing and they make millions of dollars, they could do it, and they could retire happily ever after in their 40s or 50s with guaranteed lifetime income.
Now, John is a monster guaranteed income annuity sale, but he's also a major league life insurance producer.
Well, yes, and the reason is because he uses math and science to give the most efficient solutions to the clients. Like, he doesn't sell life insurance to sell life insurance. He sells life insurance because it's the most efficient way to pass wealth to your children and grandchildren. And when for pennies on the dollar you use life insurance to go to them, it frees you up all this other money to spend. So you can get the most efficient retirement.
Oh, I love that, and that's our game that we're playing in. And this whole area of using producers in these books is to help us come to a whole nother level of understanding, and I love their approach. It's way basic. I thought it was going to be much more technical. Well, that's all the time we have for today's show. Remember, before moving forward with any of the ideas you hear on our show, always consult your tax advisor, legal counsel, or your broker-dealer compliance department. Missed an episode? Just hop out to downtobusiness.ashbrokerage.com. And remember, you could be wiser as an Ash Brokerage advisor. I'm Steve Savant. I'll see you tomorrow.